What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Itz Gametime podcast. This is episode number 53. My name is Jett, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Eric. Eric, how you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Episode 53, the Harry Carson episode. I had to do a lot of on to make sure that Harry Carson was able to be on the title of this week's episode. Finally convinced Jett that this was the best possible choice. Won a Super Bowl with my New York Football Giants. Is in the Hall of Fame. Was inducted in 2006, and he made 9 Pro Bowls over his career. Do you have any extra stuff to add to his bio that apparently you had to research for?
19 sacks in 173 games, married to the wonderful Maribel Carson, the father of Asia Carson, Donald Carson, and Lucky Carson.
Who was he born to? Who was he born from?
He was born to Mr. and Mrs. Carson.
You got first names at all?
Names to be determined. But he is an alum of South Carolina State University, Wilson High School, and Fairleigh Dickinson University, where he also spoke as a commencement speaker and received a Doctor of Humane Studies, something to that degree, from the school. I said that wrong. But
what else? What is he involved in now after his football career?
He has a show, First and 10, on Madison Square Garden with a couple other names that I can't remember off the top of my head, but he is very involved in the community. Currently resides in New Jersey, and is 68 years old. You know, still going strong. After a very successful career, still making an impact on the community. So, shout out to Harry if you're listening today.
What's up, guys? Today's pretty simple episode. We're talking about the NBA playoffs, as everyone is right now, and how the Heat are seemingly get blown out, or they do the blowing out. We'll see tonight if they can win back at home. Apparently still the stadium sells out, but at such a high price. Is that right, Jett?
Yes, that is very correct. Tickets are insane. I guess it's understandable. You have the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and you want to jack up the ticket prices, and you expect the Miami fan base. All the people that you see in these stadiums, it's like in the Heat Stadium, like it's the elite of the Miami people. It's not really targeting to the middle class, which is, understandable considering it's the playoffs. But for the super fan, for the average fan that doesn't have as much money to spend, it's really a tough time getting into the games.
Tough time setting foot in that stadium.
Unfortunately, yeah. But.
You're paying $500 to see a bunch of an injury-riddled team just keep to play. Seems every night there's someone missing for the Heat.
Someone missing for the Heat, but also someone missing for the Celtics too, it seems like. Obviously with the Heat, the big question right now is, will Tyler Hero play? Apparently the injury that he suffered, which is a groin injury, I believe, it's a 2 to 3 week timetable. So with that being said, are the Heat gonna rush him back and potentially risk his future? That's a question they're going to have to answer. I don't think it's the smart thing to do. And honestly, even if he does play, he's not really had a big impact on this series anyways. He's kind of struggled. The moment has kind of got to him, which is surprising because the moment really didn't get to him. And obviously it was different circumstances in the bubble in 2020 where he was going off in the playoffs. But if he does play, he's really going to need to bring it, because the Heat need to win this game, especially when the series is going back to Boston in Game 6. But based off of the direction of this series, it looks like the Heat are going to win.
Okay, wow.
Think about it though. Every time a team's blowing out the other team, they've gotten complacent and they haven't brought it in back-to-back games. Obviously, there's been a lot of other variables that have been intertwined between each of those games, but I can't see, on the Heat's home court, and obviously Boston is going to try and learn from their mistakes. I would have thought the Heat would have done the same, but it'll definitely be an entertaining game, and a game that'll most likely be a blowout again.
Maybe in the Celtics' favor, because you got a lot of questionable. You got PJ
all
Tucker
gonna play,
questionable with a knee. You got Gabe Vincent. Your boy Gabe
They're gonna play though.
is a hamstring injury right now, questionable. Kyle Lowry's still day to day. I mean, I bet once Hero comes back, Lowry's going to be out. It seems like they're on some type of schedule with each other. They're like, let me take game 3 off. I'll come back game 4. You can take game 4 off.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing though. Like those guys are gonna play, but the beauty of how this Heat team is structured is they have just so much depth on their roster. Hence why why someone like a Gabe Vincent, who's had a very good series when Kyle Lowry wasn't playing, he was able to produce at a very high level. But a thing that I really want to touch on in this series is, let's be honest. If you're an avid watcher of ESPN or listener of anything ESPN related, you know that ESPN, the NBA refs, the NBA in general wants a Celtics Warriors series. It's obvious.
Oh my God.
Wherever you see it, think about it. Like all the ESPN commentators pick the Celtics to win each game. Each game of this series, it's been across the board, all in the Celtics' favor. Halftime shows when the Heat were up 20, they're talking about what the Celtics are doing good, not even talking about the Heat. And then the NBA refs, that's a whole nother thing.
Oh, stop.
Well, just look at the free throw differences. That it is clear as day.
Y'all too handsy.
What these NBA refs are doing. The amount of free throws, the margin of free throws the Celtics had over the Heat was the difference of the game in game number 4. And that is very telling because, and obviously I get it when you have one of the best actors that Hollywood has ever seen in Marcus Smart on the Celtics. I know he didn't play last game, but I obviously it's the same. You could make the same case with Kyle Lowry and some of the other guys on the Heat as well. But everyone wants the Celtics to win, except obviously Heat fans and the Heat team, which is I guess understandable. A little bit bigger market if you got the Celtics in the finals, and obviously everything revolves around money. But the Heat are going against a lot of obstacles right now, and they've overcame a lot to even win these 2 games, and they'll still end up winning the final 2 games.
Oh my gosh, no way! It's the Celtics.
Come on, you had the Heat winning too. Not the series, but you had the Heat in the finals.
I did, but I didn't. I was debating between them and the Celtics, and when Marcus Smart, the best paid actor in the entire NBA, is on the floor. It's a difference maker. It really is. And I mean, I know he's day to day right now, but he's a shutdown guy. And same with Robert Williams.
He has more of an impact than the Marcus Smart, because obviously they still won by 20 points without Marcus Smart last game. I think it's more Williams that
you think it's more Williams,
because they're 2-1 when he's been in the lineup in this series, and the one game where he did game 1 when he had a strong impact on the game, that's when the Heat had that really big third quarter. But it's proven though, like Bam Adebayo, like his only big game in the series had been when Robert Williams wasn't playing, and I mean that's very telling right there. I just think that the Heat have to find a way to still get Bam the ball without running to that freak of nature that is Robert Williams. So.
Freak of nature that is Jason Tatum.
Yeah,
I know you're scared of him.
I mean, he's been on and off for the whole series.
And off.
It's just like you can look at game 3. He couldn't buy a basket.
On and off.
Game 2 and game 1. I don't think the numbers were jumping off the page by any means like he did in game number 4, but it's just been both teams have been very inconsistent. Both teams have played the highest of highs and the lowest of lows in each of the games within this series. And I mean it's just very odd to see the flow of this. I just think that the Heat started off with, I think, 1 point in the first 8 minutes. I think we're less than that, but it was 20-1 or something like that, or 20-4, and that's just not a way you can start a game. So I looked for the Heat, whichever team has started off hot, for the exception of game 1, whichever team has started off hot in this series during each of the games has ended up winning the game. But as much as I would not like to see a close game, just because I want to see the Heat blow them out, I don't want to, my heart's been through so much in this series already. But I do believe, biased or not, I do believe the Heat will win this game tonight. I don't know if they're necessarily going to win this series though.
Oh man, I think the Heat need more luck than the Celtics. He got so many injuries, man. They just seem to a little injury prone. Question now: whoever wins this series, do you see the winner of this series winning the NBA Finals? Because I just don't know. I mean, I really think I think the Warriors, man, they are a dominant force. I know they just lost last night, but they were up 3-0. I mean, obviously they're like, can we just get back? Can we just get back to the Bay? Yeah. We'll win it in the Bay. Who wants to celebrate on the Mavericks leaky court now with a little drip from the ceiling? But I don't see. They are. You said it. These teams can be very inconsistent. I mean, it's blowout after blowout, and the Warriors can easily blow out a team, but they are highly ranked in defensive field goal percentage. Like they're first in opposing field goal percentage, and then they're third in field goal percentage from the three. I mean, they actually are a pretty good defense because they figured out that. Yeah, Steph Curry's a liability, but I mean, everywhere else around him. I mean, Klay Thompson's a 3-and-D guy. Yeah. Draymond's there to be a defensive player. Looney is there for a defensive player. Wiggins can play defense. It's really just Curry at times. And then I don't really know how well Jordan Poole is on the defensive side of the ball, but I mean, I bet he's not as bad as Curry. So when you just have one defensive liability, then that's it. But then on the other side of the floor, those guys can shoot. I mean, Wiggins is looking like Maple Jordan that his nickname is. Yeah. And then obvious Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Jordan Poole. It's just I think when Wiggins is your fourth best scorer and he has dropped 30 points in this recent series, that's scary.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think all season long, the West has been the more top heavy conference and the East has been the deeper conference. And I mean, the Warriors, slid a little bit towards the end of the regular season, but I mean, I think they've really reestablished themselves as one of the best teams now in the league. And I do, as much as it hurts me to say, I just don't think either the Celtics or the Heat are going to be able to defeat the Golden State Warriors. I think both, whether it's the Heat or Celtics are playing the Warriors, I think would be entertaining series, obviously depending on health of both of those teams. But I do think that, and like they should be, the Warriors are the clear favorites to win the NBA Finals for a reason.
Of course. Now let's look into the future a little bit here. I think the one team we think is not going to make it is the Mavericks.
Yeah.
What's the next step for the Mavericks?
I mean, the supporting cast they have for them obviously has worked, but they definitely need more. They don't have the current roster to be able to win a championship just yet. And the problem they're going to have is trying to find a player that they can bring into that will mesh with Luka Doncic, because obviously Luka needs the ball at all times. He not only could score, but he's their facilitator as well. I think you could look to the first thing is their center position. They really don't have they have a Kleber. I'm pretty sure that's who they've been playing at center. But you look at a guy like could be potentially be available like a Rudy Gobert who could have a big impact on a team like the Mavericks. But they do need another big man, in my opinion, or potentially another scorer to pair with Luka Doncic, but a scorer that can, not overtake what Luka's trying to do just because he's a top 5 player in the league now, I think. And they need to kind of find a way to construct a roster that, because they're very close to the finals. Obviously, they're one step away, but they just need, I think, 1 or 2 more pieces to put them over the top.
Their big concern, I think, in-house is Brunson. Brunson's a free agent,
right?
And he's obviously been performing very well next to Luka. I don't think their games complement each other that well, but I also don't think it's worth losing him. So I think you have to re-sign him. Obviously, he's going to be asking for a good portion, probably over $100 million deal easily, I would expect. And I think there's teams out there like probably my Knicks who need a point guard, are willing to pay that probably. So you got to compete with other teams. But I said when talking about the Warriors, how they constructed their team, where I think the Mavericks have to do a very similar style as the Warriors did with Steph Curry. They know Steph Curry's a liability. They are understanding of it, and they know it, and they're fine with it. They let Steph Curry save all his energy for the offensive side, which that's what Luka does already. Yeah. I mean, Luka's awful, worse than Steph Curry on defense. So I think you need to get defensive-minded guys that can shoot, that aren't. I think 3-and-D. I think they need 3-and-D guys. I think the issue with Rudy Gobert is he can't stretch the floor.
True.
And I think that's what you like. When Draymond was at his best, he could stretch the floor.
Right.
But right now, I mean, he can still do most of the ball handling if necessary. Like he brings it up the court. You can't have Rudy Gobert be doing that. So if you want I think if anything, they got to go small. I think they should match what the Warriors did. With a guy like Luka Doncic, an all-time scorer, pretty much. Because you don't want Luka to kind of turn into the James Harden type.
Yeah.
James Harden, I mean, it's an eerily like a not uber athletic guard, but can still somehow score but uses all of his energy on that side of the court. So that's why I think and obviously they love to shoot the three, and I think they should embrace that, but you need to get like some shut down defensive guys. And I think like you said, at the center possession, I think you need to stretch big four that can play the five at times, but he can stretch out the floor, and he can also play defense with a true center.
In regards to like other potential scores, what about adding someone like a Donovan Mitchell? You think that would at all make sense?
No, I don't think Donovan Mitchell is a good enough, just pure shooter. To be able to just like Klay Thompson. I mean, Klay Thompson is the perfect archetype that I think would complement Luka the most. I mean, obviously, I think any team thinks Klay is a perfect match. You need a guy that can shoot without dribbling. I don't think Donovan Mitchell can do that. I don't think he's good enough to do that. I think he needs to have the ball in his hands to score. He likes to drive to the basket most of the time. And you can't take the ball out of Luka's hands because Luka's a much better scorer than Donovan Mitchell.
Agree,
So that's a little bit of an issue with that. Is I just don't. It would look good on paper, like having Luka Doncic at the point, a really tall point, and then Mitchell at the two. But I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, you're just replacing Brunson with Mitchell, and I think they have very similar playing styles. I think Mitchell is far better, but their playing styles are very similar.
Yeah, I was just curious to see what you were thinking of that. I mean, I can't think of guys that like, off the top of my head that would be a good fit for what you're trying to set. Trying to think of. I don't know if you have any off the top of your head that are either free agents or could potentially come over in a trade. But I totally get what you're saying. I mean, if they're able to kind of emulate what the Warriors are doing.
I mean, everyone wants to emulate the Warriors are doing, but I think for the Mavericks, it makes the most sense. I mean, even getting someone like Brook Lopez, he can stretch the floor and he can defend. I mean, you saw it, like he did have a defensive impact in the Celtics series. I mean, there were some games he was just blocking shots. And I'm not saying like you need to have an Embiid, all right, or a Draymond Green. You can have a Brook Lopez, and I think he put Brook Lopez on the Mavericks team now. He's the starter.
And
I think he makes a good difference. Just having that, and Brook Lopez can't bring the ball up the court and stuff like that. But, oh my gosh, who was I? I thought in the moment, like this going back with Porzingis. Porzingis was if Porzingis was healthy, like when he was on the Knicks at the beginning, that would have been a perfect match because he is a tall MFer that can stretch the floor and shoot lights out, and he can defend. But obviously you got him after his injury, in which when you're a 7-footer, an injury after you heal, you didn't really fully heal.
I mean, obviously they were thinking like they thought that could potentially work. They just didn't get the player that they were
Exactly. And I mean, I thought it was. I mean, if they were banking on Porzingis getting good, and I think it would have been a good match if he did get well. And so I'm just looking at there's not a lot of centers like that at the. I mean, if the Timberwolves did really bad this year, maybe you could have gotten Cat next year. But obviously, since they made the play in, they're not going to be willing to trade their star person. I mean, you also would have had to give up your entire roster for Cat, but you would have gotten that co-star that I think Cat can bring the ball up the court himself, and he is a true 5.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the Mavericks do need someone that is able to play alongside Luka. It's just, I mean, they're close. Obviously, they're here, but we'll have to see what kind of moves they look to make in the offseason, whether it's through trade or free agency. But very interesting to see how they kind of revamp their team.
Hold up, I'm just looking for a second. What about you, Yusuf Nurkic from the Portland Trailblazers?
Possibly.
He's kind of been coming off of injury and stuff, but he's 27.
I don't know. You think the Mavericks would want to take a chance on another guy that is coming off of a big injury?
Yeah, that is the one thing. But I mean, he can score can defend. I mean, that's just like someone that I was just like, I mean, and I don't think that would cost a lot at all to get. No. So that may be like, we can try another chance if we should or not. I mean, what about Sabonis?
Oh, I mean, I feel like that could be potentially a good match. Obviously, because Sabonis could shoot from beyond the arc, spreads across the court. But
who's he on? What team is he on now? I know
Pacers.
He got traded from the Pacers.
Oh,
where is he at? He stayed in the Eastern Conference, correct?
I'm pretty sure he did.
Did he go to Detroit? Look that up.
Kings.
Okay.
Kings.
Yeah, Kings. Kings are they were not. I mean, they were 4 games out of the play-ins, but I mean, I don't think it's gonna. They're not any close to like competing. So I mean, if you can try to talk Sabonis into any, I mean, he's 26.
Right.
He's 26. I don't think he has a serious injury history at all. I mean, he's a power forward, a true power forward and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think Sabonis would be a good match.
Yeah, I could definitely see that working out. Fits exactly what you're saying that they should do. And obviously they've probably thought of along those lines too. Obviously, when he brought in someone like a Porzingis, but we'll have to see where they go in this offseason because they're there. So
I mean, and then about the Warriors. I mean, how would you look at this Warriors team and compare to other championship Warriors teams if they end up winning it all?
I mean, obviously they don't have as much star power because you don't have Kevin Durant, you don't like Curry and Clay. They're not where they were, even though they're still playing at high level. Same with Draymond, but it seems like the way they've been playing, it seems like it's more of a team, more team oriented. Obviously, you had the individual guys stepping up, and they were performing collectively as a team. But it looks like every guy on this team that they're taking more of a defensive based approach, I think, is what we've seen a difference in this team. Obviously, with Draymond anchoring that defense, gets Clay returning back to his former self, but. I think we got to give more credit now to Steve Kerr, especially with the job he's done now that he doesn't have those Kevin Durant type players and is able to do a lot more with, even though it's not a lot less, it is still less, but it's been very good to see the Warriors, especially where they were a year ago. I mean, even a couple of years ago, they were trying to get back to this place. They were picking high up in the draft order, and now they're one game away from being back in the NBA Finals.
This team is most similar to the 2015 in numbers, all in numbers or something, that team, where it was the main 3. It was Curry, Clay, Draymond, like here. Just trying to find it. Whoa. Where is this? I just had it.
Looking for the roster for
Yeah,
15.
no, I just saw like with the help.
Like it was Bogut, Curry,
Yeah.
Green,
Yeah,
Sean
Bogut.
Livingston.
Yes, Sean Livingston.
Harrison Barnes.
Harrison Barnes.
Leonardo Barbosa, Festus Ezeli, Kevon Looney, James Michael McAdoo, Brandon Rush, Maurice Spites, Anderson Varejao.
I remember Sean Livingston. That man had a disgusting mid-range. And they have the same thing with like Jordan Poole now to take over for like that Harrison Barnes, Sean Livingston.
Absolutely,
And like actually no, Andrew Wiggins takes over the role of what Harrison Barnes was back in 2015. True. And Jordan Poole was probably even better than Sean Livingston was back in 2015. So this team, and that's when that team was arguably at its best. Like that was before they had obviously KD, but I mean, like, this is like this is nostalgia right here, seeing this like strength in numbers Warriors team, and like that you're like, how has it seems like the league still hasn't caught up with the Warriors.
I know. I'm just looking at their roster, and it is very, very similar to what we're seeing now. All those comparisons made are extremely accurate. So, I mean, is it possible though? Like you think this will be another scenario where they start to win a couple more rings, like the span they did several years back? Or do you think that since some of these guys like Curry and Clay are at the tail end of the career, that this would be like a win a ring and then probably have a harder time getting back to this point in the near future?
It would be they obviously I would say they got a trip. I mean, obviously a trip to the finals involves a little bit of luck.
Right.
And I think that luck includes facing the Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals and the Sun. I mean, if the Suns ended up getting to the Western Conference Finals and they were able to play their game, like being as they were to have the best record in the regular season, it would have been tough. That would have been a tough trip. But and with the fact if they make it to the finals, they're facing two teams that have been inconsistent, have shown inconsistencies game to game, where the Warriors have kind of been the most consistent team out of the remaining four.
Absolutely.
So that's a little, obviously there's luck. There's always luck involved with whenever you win a championship, but yes, this may be a last hurrah. I know Clay is still, I mean, he's still not fully, I don't think he'll ever be fully back to what he was before his 2 injuries. Draymond's obviously getting old. You can see the whiteness in his beard. Curry, I think, still can play at an MVP caliber next season, but do they have, if they have Wiggins still next year, I don't know what the contract's like. I would assume they still have Poole.
They still have Poole. I know that.
So they have Poole. They'll have Clay. They'll have Draymond. They'll have Curry.
I mean, they'll have like James Wiseman coming back from injury too as well. I mean, which is, when he was playing, I mean, he showed flashes, but it's definitely.
I mean, so you can have him coming off the bench.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I know, like it's like, dude, that's like a top 5 pick. You're coming off the bench, but you're like, we don't need him starting.
Right.
Is like, so do you know, is Wiggins?
Wiggins is a free agent, not this season, but after next.
Okay. Season. So this could be, I mean, they could be looking at like, hey, let's win it this year and let's try to run it back one last time. Because then, I mean, Curry, Clay, and Draymond will all have 5 rings at that point.
Right. I mean, especially though with the Western Conference isn't. I mean, it's still even next year. But obviously, we'll see what moves are made. Obviously, we'll see where the Lakers are and other teams. But the Western Conference is probably still not going to be as strong as even the Eastern Conference. So they may look at their window and they may see they may have another shot at winning once again if they obviously win this year too.
Yeah, I mean, you telling me that it seems like a lot of players are staying, the mainstay guys. I mean, I know they have Gary Payton II.
Yeah.
He's been injured. I don't know what his contract's like. I know he's a really good defender.
Right.
I mean, they'll still have Otto Porter possibly. Like I don't know their contracts.
Right.
But I mean, if they have, I mean, those are the main guys. Curry, Poole, Clay, Draymond, Looney, Wiggins, Wiseman. That's a 7-man rotation right there that we know is going to be staying.
Right. Yeah.
You just need 2 more guys, and it could be Gary Payton II, which I think they would be. I mean, if they have that, and then if Otto Porter's still there, or I mean,
so Clay's contract ends in 2024, Wiggins 2023, Draymond 2024, Wiseman 2024, Kuminga 2025, Poole 2023. Let's see what else. It's not showing me. Peyton is. I don't know why it's only showing me like 8 players. I want to see the full team, but
I mean, Iguodala. I mean, I think he's turning into a Udonis Haslem type guy. Damian Lee. They have Moses Moody.
Yeah. Gary Payton, his contract is up at the end of this year.
I mean, but I also don't think he's going to be asking for a lot. He's right now getting paid 1.7 mil.
Right.
So I think they can re-sign him. What about Otto Porter?
Otto Porter's contract.
I mean, I think both Gary.
It's up at the end.
I mean, they're both getting paid the same amount, so I think that's a vet minimum. Both 1.6.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can get them back.
Yeah.
And they still. I mean, Damian Lee's getting paid 1.9. I mean, these guys, and they're like Gary Payton's 29, Damian Lee's 29, Otto Porter's 28. These guys are not 32 years old. These role players that like you want for the energy, for the defense. So, and it takes pressure and fatigue off of Clay, who's 32, Draymond 32, Curry 34. But you have Jordan Poole's 22. So Wiseman 21. I mean, you're getting guys back. You're getting Wiseman back. So you don't need like it's just. I mean, is Kevon Looney coming? Is his contract still, or is it up? Because if it's up, they may not even sign him. There'll be
Kevon Looney's contract ends after this year.
They may not sign him because like we're gonna have Wiseman coming back. Yeah. They may not have to. Like we'll have Wiseman coming back, and so
we'll see.
I think it's actually now looking at this. I think this is a two-year window.
Right.
I think this is a 2-year window, and I think if they win it, it's a 2-year window.
Yeah, it obviously it's all going to depend on what other teams in the Western Conference do. That is going to depend on a lot, but. Looking at it, they do.
Looking at the contracts,
the team
somehow
God, yeah, they have the window. Especially if they win this year, like they're gonna want to keep guys around or maybe shuffle a few of those lower contracts. But yeah, where's your back, I guess.
And I think by then Curry will be 36, Clay will be 34, Draymond will be 34. Yeah. That they may be like, we have 5 rings together.
Yeah.
Let's just retire.
Yeah.
I mean, Draymond's contract's up after they're up in 2024.
2024, right? Draymond, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, still 34. I mean, I really think if Curry wins this season and like if they're able to win it next season, Curry's going to be like, I have 5 rings. Yeah. I am arguably the greatest point guard of all time now. Right. I match Magic with rings now. Yeah. I'm the greatest shooter of all time. What more do you have to prove? There's a conversation. If Curry wins this year, he could be a top 10 player of all time.
Yeah.
And I think it's a guarantee if he wins the next 2.
Absolutely. I mean, there really will be nothing else for him to do, and especially with all those guys' contracts ending around the same time, like.
It's good for the organization too to be like, all right, let's
reset.
Yeah. It's a hard, nice reset. We won 2 in a row to finish it off. Let's go.
And it's coming. Like it's not like they're not expecting this ever. It's coming eventually. These guys can't play forever.
Exactly. So. But they have a piece that they can still win with Jordan Poole and hopefully James Wiseman.
Right. I mean,
they have those young bucks.
They definitely they know this is coming. They have a plan in place. So we'll have to see. Very interesting.
Yeah, this Warriors are back.
Very, very
Warriors are back.
Warriors are back.
Thought they were gone in 2018. You're like, oh, that was a cute little like 3-year run.
Yeah, but it just shows though like how valuable Curry is, because when he wasn't playing, the team was in second to last place in the conference all season long. So, yeah. Wow,
that's something cool we just stumbled upon.
Yeah,
I like that. We I mean, what do you want to talk about the Heat's future at all? Like, I don't know what the contract deal with the Heat are.
So
let's say like they make it to the finals and lose.
I mean, a big question like is will Duncan Robinson be on this team next year?
Makes no sense for them to keep him on.
Right, that's the thing, especially with what Max Strus is getting paid and the production he's performing at. Obviously, Duncan Robinson's a liability on defense, and yeah, you can argue now that contract that they gave him was a mistake, but at the time, I mean, he's still one of the best shooters in the league. It's just when you have a player like him who's a little bit better defender, there's just really no reason to keep him around, especially with, I mean, the defense is what the Heat center they're focused around, and he just doesn't have just watching him in the Celtics series, some of the fouls he's assessed on him, like, it's just not Miami Heat basketball. So I do unfortunately think Duncan Robinson is on the move. And then, I mean, obviously guys like PJ Tucker getting up there in age. Udonis Haslem should just become a coach at this point. Kyle Lowry is getting up in age. Obviously Jimmy Butler's he's in his almost mid-30s already too. Like these guys aren't in the primes of their career anymore. So eventually something's going to have to change. But the Heat do have a lot of young talent to work with going forward.
Do you think it's a now or never scenario looking like next year?
I think so. Like,
you think this is now
if we're this close, and the Eastern Conference is so deep and is only going to continue. Like Giannis is still in the prime of his career.
Giannis didn't have Middleton.
He didn't have Middleton. The Celtics, I mean, they're here to stay for a while. I'm assuming the Hawks are not going to be as bad as they were. 76ers, they're a mess, but I mean, that's just them. But if the Heat are this close, and they've been this close, I mean,
you have Charlotte coming up with
like the Heat were on the finals 2 years ago and couldn't get it done, and now they're back at it. Like, they can't keep letting these chances be lost like this. The Heat have the team to do it right now. It's just not going to be an easy task, especially all these guys next year will be another year older. And, when you have guys like Bam and Tyler in the earlier parts of their career getting into their primes, like, this is a time to really capitalize, especially with, even with Jimmy Butler playing at the high level he is, eventually that's not going to be the case. And the team's just going to have to do a whole nother reset with adding some more younger talent. So I think this is a now or never.
Is there a player or a position that you're like, even regardless of how the season ends up, you're like, we need to upgrade for the future, because like you said, this isn't going to last forever.
Unfortunately, like, this has been an issue for years now, is having a true center. Bam, I think, is better suited as a 4. Especially we've seen him going against the bigs like Joel Embiid, like Robert Williams in this series. He has not had the easiest of times. So bringing in a center that can not only potentially play defense, but be able to score as well, I think would go a long way. And obviously this is never going to happen, but the perfect fit would be someone like a Joel Embiid, and then you move Bam to the 4, but that's just never going to happen. Joel hates the Heat. I don't have an interest in bringing him, even with how good he is, but the center position is a real position in need, especially when you have Dwayne Dedmon as your reserve center. That's just not going to cut it. He can only do so much. He is a liability athletically. So, and then getting the boards has been a problem. And this is something that really needs to be solved, because going forward, when you have guys like Joel Embiid and Giannis in the same conference, you need a big man, and it could be a big man that's maybe a little bit taller than Bam, maybe just as athletic. You could look to someone like a Rudy Gobert. I don't know if that would necessarily work with the Heat style of play, but I do think center is definitely a position of need.
Here, just give me a second. I mean, like, we talked about centers already. I mean, Here's no Miles Turner.
Yeah, that's that. It would work, I think, because he is somewhat athletic for a center. He's more athletic than a lot of the centers in the league, and he can shoot when needed as well. So that type of player, not sure what his contract or where he stands in regards to that, but bringing in someone like him could go a long way in fixing some of the issues that he'd have getting boards off the glass, offensive and defensively. But someone that prototypical guy that fits that type, I think is the ideal fit.
So you are looking for more of a like traditional center rather than a stretch five.
Yeah, I just think that the Heat needs someone that can, be extremely physical down low, deal with like the Joel Embiid. The Giannis is obviously a traditional center, may not have the athletic ability to deal with a guy like Giannis, but Bam, he's a better four in my opinion, has the ability to play defense on someone like Giannis. So that traditional center that could be physical on the boards, I think Rudy Gobert would be a pretty good fit. I just don't know how it or if that would even be possible.
And then the Celtics side,
yeah,
do you think their window is open, or are you thinking?
I think it's open for. I mean, I don't think they're going to go away anytime soon. Jason Tatum, I believe, is what 24, 25. I mean,
yeah, he's pretty young. He's pretty young.
And then you got emerging guys like Peyton Pritchard off the bench has been really good. Obviously, Marcus Smart is getting up there in age. Jaylen Brown is still relatively young. I think it's like 26. Robert Williams has been great. Like they have a lot of pieces that are that are still going to be making an impact for the next couple of years. So, and obviously Al Horford is not going to be there for much longer either. But I think the Celtics have the ability to stick around a little bit longer than the Heat do.
So I mean the Mavericks, their window is not open at the moment. I don't think.
No.
Celtics window's open. I think it's similar. I think it's open. I think, like you said, the Heat, it's a now or never type of scenario that's going on. Maybe they don't feel like that. Do you think they feel like that? I don't
think they feel like that. No, I think it's more like as the fan perspective, just being how close we've been the past couple of years. The Heat, the thing with the Heat though is that they have guys ready to go that they're starting to groom, like Gabe Vincent, like Max Strus, like Omar Yurtseven. Like they have these guys ready to go once the next phase of the franchise takes place. So I don't think they're worried about it because the Heat have been able to be a successful franchise for the large majority of their tenure, but I personally believe it's now or never.
And I mean, the Warriors, they seem like the most set up for the next 2 years out of possibly any team in the league.
Yeah.
And yet they have older players, but I mean these types of players like Curry, they can get older because their game doesn't require them to be uber athletic, drive to the basket, pull up mid range. They can pull up from three, stay nice and away from the trees up down there.
Especially with Steph not even having to really play like that much defense. He doesn't play it at a high level. Like shooters are able to survive longer in the game anyways. That's why we've seen so many for so long.
All right, we can transition to the MLB recently. I mean, it's been a little bit of a while since we covered that.
Yeah.
My Yankees are the first team with 30 wins. They still own the league's best record, but they're in a little bit of they're on the struggle bus right now.
Yeah.
They lost the series to the Warriors. I
would love to say my team's on the struggle bus still be first in the league. That would be
I mean,
I know you're saying
it's a very Yankees fan thing to say, but I mean, dude, like, I don't know if you've been keeping track of injuries, but we just got – I mean, Giancarlo got subbed out of the game yesterday because he's day-to-day and undergoes a calf MRI. LeMahieu has he got a cortisone shot for his wrist. He's expected to be back in a day or two. Josh Donaldson's out with flu-like symptoms, so he's on the COVID IL.
Yeah.
We can talk more about that in a quick second.
Flu-like
symptoms, but he tested negative for COVID, but he's still on the COVID IL. Aroldis Chapman with an Achilles tendonitis after he was garbage.
Yeah.
I think that's a phantom IL, and I'm happy for it. He's on the 15-day IL. Joey Gallo's been out with flu-like symptoms and put on the COVID IL. Chad Green, this kills me. This is his free agency year, and he got Tommy John. So I mean, that's a big piece missing out of the bullpen. And then Kyle Gashioka just got reinstated from the COVID IL. A guy that has been coming up and down for us, Luis Hill. Okay. He's a minor league, like what's considered a quadruple A pitcher who starts for us when we have double headers. He just got Tommy John surgery. So, I mean, the Yankees they lost 2 series in a row. They're fighting to win. They're tied with the series right now that they're playing with the Orioles as we're recording this. I mean, if they lose this, then they've lost 3 series in a row, and they've gone 6-4 in their last 10. So they're getting injuries. I mean, every team does, and this is the time for the Yankees to seemingly get injuries. I mean, I'm worried about Stanton. I really hope that he doesn't have to get put on the IL. I mean, I hope it's nothing big. I'm happy LeMahieu's in risk. He just needed a cortisone shot. But
it's tough for someone like Stanton who has had so many injuries in his past, and he is getting up there in age as well. So, especially with the season he's had so far, for him to go down and what he's been accomplishing, that would be a tough blow.
I mean, yeah. So the Josh Donaldson stuff, he did receive a 1-game suspension for the controversy between him and Tim Anderson. He's appealing it, but I think there's if you appeal it, and then you remove your appeal, you still get to choose the day that you are suspended, the game you're suspended, something like that. Or if you lose it, you still get to choose the day you are suspended. You served the suspension. Yeah. So he could literally, the Yankees love to play rest day. Right. So if he finds out he's resting that day, he's like, I'll just serve my suspension now. I wasn't going to play anyways.
Why not? It's a 1 game.
But with that, there's this persona of him wanting to be a pest during the games and stuff. Right. But there's a line. And
of course,
there's a difference between being a pest in game and then you saying and whether or not you were joking around with Tim Anderson and calling him Jackie. Yeah. Because it originally started as a joke or something like that. And what he says was starting as a joke. And apparently Tim Anderson didn't take it as a joke, and I mean, nor should he. It's different if someone in the clubhouse is calling him Jackie, because it's all based around this article that he did, and he can something where he referred to himself as the Jackie Robinson for today's, and in the ways of making baseball fun again. It's one thing for someone in the clubhouse, in his clubhouse, to be calling him Jackie and stuff because they're teammates. They have that relationship. Right. You do not have that relationship with Tim Anderson, so you should not be. So since you don't have that relationship with Tim Anderson, and since prior to it, when they had a series back in Chicago and with that whole pushing off the tag, a rough tag type of thing, it comes off as a double. There's a double meaning behind you calling him Jackie. Right. It's not you can say you meant in a joking manner, but it can come off to Tim Anderson as racially motivated.
Of course. And from what I've seen in Donaldson's interview and Tim Anderson's interview, Donaldson preface they said he had a really good relationship with Tim Anderson. I don't believe that was ever the case. I believe there's been other incidents in years past where the two of them, I don't necessarily believe, have always gotten along. So I don't know where Josh Donaldson was going with that, but yeah, it's just not the thing. And I know was this was said during the brawl, or was this said
this was earlier? They were talking to each other and stuff when he was on second base, and the inning was over, I think, from a strikeout. I don't know. And they were walking back and they were talking and stuff. And then next, I guess Tim Anderson was telling his clubhouse, he was like, "Can you believe this?" And he was calling me Jackie and stuff. And then Yasmani Grandal went on the next Donaldson at bat. Yasmani stood up for Tim Anderson. He was like, "Hey, don't You don't know him like that.
Yeah.
Like that's not you don't joke with him about that. You don't have that relationship with him, in which that's how it started. And then I think because Donaldson didn't start, he didn't start that brawl.
Right.
He didn't. Grandal started the talk, and even then, Donaldson kind of just stood there and didn't really say much. So I think I believe this mention is for his comments towards Tim Anderson, and not for creating the brawl that the emptying of benches.
Yeah.
But it's just that's not some you do not have you don't have that relationship with him, so there's no reason to be going like saying anything that could potentially have a double meaning.
Right. Well, that's the thing I don't get it. Donaldson, and I think in his post-game comments, made it seem like he did have that relationship with Tim Anderson. Hence why he like thought it was like okay for him to say, which it wasn't. There's no reason for him to say something like that, especially you know, like even if he was joking, it still doesn't matter. Like there's no reason for him to do something like that, and I understand why Tim Anderson would be mad. But
I completely see how Tim Anderson thought there was another a subliminal messaging behind that.
That's the thing. Like you could take so many things different ways, and you know, I totally understand where Tim Anderson was coming from there. We obviously don't know like what Josh Donaldson's whole thing was behind saying that. It could have been nothing, no harm whatsoever. It was just saying that to say it, but for him to say something like that, just with the climate we're in today, like it wasn't probably the best choice of words.
No, I mean when I first heard it, like he called him before like Josh Donaldson gave his context to it and stuff, I was like, that's fucked up.
Of course,
that is fucked up. And then he gave us the context and stuff like that, to where you're like, I mean, still just don't go in that territory. Just don't touch it.
Other, like if you wanted to say something, there's like other things you could have said, but like if you want to trash talk a little bit, but like not use like any words that can come off as like racist or whatnot. Like
exactly. So I mean, glad we got to talk about that for a quick second. But I mean, everywhere. I mean, Boston seems to be actually kind of back. Finally, I mean, they've won 6 in a row. I think they've won their last how many series? 1, 2, 3. They've won their last 3 series.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it has been now Trevor Story's kind of got him into his groove, and that's been a reason why they've been able to play so well. It's just they just put themselves in such a big hole, and even though it's only May, they're still 9.5 games back of the Yankees. So they're honestly going to be looking at a wild card, and they're only 2.5 games, which now it helps that there's that additional wild card spot, which leaves a lot of other teams in play that you wouldn't expect. So
yeah, I mean it kind of says a lot when like the hole that you put yourself in when you've gone 8-2 in your last 10, and the top seed in your division has gone 6-4, and you're still 9.5 games back.
Yeah, it's just obviously the baseball season is a marathon, but even just like putting yourself in a hole like that, it's not necessarily the greatest thing to do, because it's not always easy to get yourself out of, especially with how the Yankees have been playing.
Yeah, because the Yankees are in a rough stretch right now, and the Boston's on a nice little streak. But I mean, roles are going to switch again. Right. So I mean, that's why it's important. A team that I don't think we've even talked about really is Toronto.
Yeah.
I know I don't want to keep focusing on the AL East and stuff, but like, I mean, Toronto, man, they're playing almost 500 ball right now.
Yeah.
They have a -7 run differential. I think maybe their window we thought the window was open and ready for them to take advantage of. Maybe it's not ready to be opened yet. Maybe it's next season when they're like, they're still a really young team. So, I mean, they just split an interleague series with the Cardinals, which is good to see. But I mean, now they have the Angels on the road, and then they have the White Sox. So the White Sox, I think, are rallying around the whole thing with the Yankees. Then they have the Twins. The Twins are like they're leading their division. I mean, even though it's the AL Central, and then they get an easier schedule with the Royals, Detroit, and then the Orioles. Then they have the Yankees, the White Sox, the Brewers, Boston, then Tampa. I mean, so
Yeah, I mean, I just like seeing what I've saw from them playing. Like a lot of their big bats just haven't got going yet. I think you could look to like Vlad has 8 home runs, 22 RBIs, but he is nowhere near as good as he was last year. And I saw a stat. I think he was like hitting a crazy amount of ground balls after he made an adjustment 2 years ago that got him out of that little rut, and then he was hitting all those ground balls and turning them into line drives, which why he had a very successful season last year. So I don't expect him to struggle all season, but guys that are really, really struggling, Bo Bichette, Matt Chapman, Lourdes Gurriel, I mean, those guys have not, been up to expectations so far this season, and I don't expect them to be that bad all year, and that's going to be a big boost to their offense once they get going. But also someone like a Jose Barrios who has a 4.75 ERA, like not great at all. And Jose Barrios always was a very inconsistent pitcher. He was never the top of the line starter that was able to give you a sub 3 ERA each and every year. But he has the stuff to be able to, be a nice part of this rotation. But obviously still a long season. Obviously there was a lot of hype for the Blue Jays coming into this year, but it's really going to be very hard for them to win this division now. Even, I mean, they're 7 games back. Like that's I know it's only May. We're getting into June almost, but they'll probably still find a way as a wild card team, but maybe all the hype really was a little too soon, like you were saying, for this Blue Jays team. I mean, they still have the pieces in place to potentially make a run in future years.
Yeah, let's switch over to the NL, and I mean, let's talk about the NL East. I mean, damn, Mets still 8 games up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just 8 games up out of second place, and then it's second to fourth with your Marlins. I mean, it's within a game.
Yeah.
So I mean, like second place, I mean, it can really just switch real quick. But the Mets, man, but Scherzer is out, so we'll wait to see if that has a lasting effect.
Yeah.
I think it's been about a week so far, and it seems like nothing's changed. No. But I mean, maybe you're gonna. I mean, was he 6 to 8 weeks out with an oblique strain?
Something like that. And then they also lost Tyler McGill a couple of weeks ago. They're relying on like Chris Bassett, Taijuan Walker, and Carlos Carrasco as their 3 guys to get them through until someone like DeGrom and Scherzer return. But yeah, they've still been hanging in there, playing pretty steady baseball. They did blow a save. Edwin Diaz blew a save last night to the Giants, which kind of hurt them. But it's been more. This division has been more about the inconsistent play from the other teams. The Braves. Seems like they play worse with Ronald Acuna for some reason, which is very odd. But I mean, they have had other issues within their pitching rotation, and just look, they have a -14 run differential, and like Acuna, since he's been back, he's hitting like 290, and he's been productive in his return off of that ACL injury. It's just as a team, for some reason, they have not been able to get it going yet. Phillies. They're just way too inconsistent. I just don't see them. Even like I expect this games back for Phillies and Braves to the Mets. I expect it to decrease a little bit. I don't think the Mets are going to be able to be this far ahead for the whole season. But with the Phillies, the bullpen is just a story night after night. I think they blew another lead a couple nights ago. Their offense, Bryce Harper is having another great year, even with the injuries dealing with. He's playing DH, but this division, which obviously a lot of higher expectations every year, just doesn't ever seem to come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, NL Central, it's pretty much exactly how I would think it would be. Brewers and then Cardinals a few games back, and then Chicago's a little bit more back, and then Pittsburgh's more back, and then the Reds are just exist.
They finally got over the 10-win mark, which is great for them. I'm sure big moment for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They're one of two teams with 30 losses instead of 30 wins. So
you talk about 30 wins. We got to bring up the guys with 30 losses as well.
With Washington and the Reds.
Yeah.
West, Dodgers, and the San Diego have made distance now.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember last time we kind of talked about this. Colorado was like 4.5 games back from first place. Now they're 9 games back, and it's a big difference between first and second and third place with San Fran with 6 games back. I mean, do you think San Fran's their Cinderella story has come to an end?
I mean, they were always going to regress this year. I mean, it's early. They're in position for that 3rd wild card spot. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. It's just not going to be as big of a year as they had last year. But just like looking at looking at a wild card race like in this early in the season, but you got like the Diamondbacks and Rockies who are still in play, potentially making the wild card. That's just how good the NL West has been. For a while, I know it was only like 10 games or so. The Rockies were in first place, and I mean the Diamondbacks are playing 500 ball right now, and they were expected to, I think, even finish below the Rockies coming into this season. So, NL West looks like the best division I think in baseball up to this point. I mean, Dodgers are obviously still going to win they have a plus 102 run differential. The next closest is the
Yankees.
The Yankees at 66. So,
and they're dealing with injuries. They don't have Kershaw.
Yeah, they don't have Kershaw. It's they're gonna win. I mean, the Padres. It's remarkable. They're only 1.5 games behind.
Padres playing good ball.
They've been playing very good baseball.
Manny Machado is I think leading the MVP conversation.
I agree. Yeah, I think him, Arenado, Harper. I think they're all like within that race right now. But Padres are looking good. I just while their division is still very much in reach, it's still going to be the Dodgers division, but Padres look like they're going to be a tough out if they could, and they saw Tatis coming back eventually.
Yes,
so they're going to be
I think when Tatis comes back, people are going to be like, "Oh shit, Padres."
Oh yeah. I mean, that rotation has just been very, very good. They added Manaea and they added Clevenger. They got back from injury, so a lot of things going well for them right now.
Yeah. Anything else to say?
I don't want to bring up the Marlins just because I'm just not happy right now.
Just not happy. All right, guys. That was episode 53, the Harry Carson episode. We hope you enjoy. We'll see y'all next week. Peace out.